Hey guys, this is Vorpal broadcasting to you about the current state of gaming. Now, with E3 less than 2 weeks away, it is a very exciting time for gaming in general. In particular, before E3, we have had a big reveal from Bungie, that of course being Destiny 2. And it's very interesting that they had their own separate event pre-E3, which I believe is to ensure that they are not drowned out in what is about to become a massive event. Now, as far as the state of gaming is concerned, Destiny has put a spin on what we're about to receive in a very interesting way. Being a Destiny player myself, with 3,000 plus hours, I can honestly say that the game has improved after multiple DLCs and intent commitment from Bungie themselves. And yes, I was very intrigued with what they had to offer with Destiny 2, and the feedback has been very positive. In particular, we of course know that the game will be available on all consoles, but in addition we now have the PC version, which is going to feature on Battle.net. So this in itself will become a big selling point of the game. Very proud moment for Bungie, and the fact that they are branching away from consoles is definitely apparent. Now, in an interview made by IGN, which actually was one of the better things that they've done of late, they actually got some pretty concrete information out of Bungie's development team, in particular Luke Smith and Mark Norsworthy, both head of game developers, project leads. Very insightful stuff. And what we of course found out about that interview was that right off the bat they were asked, the PS4 Pro is out here, it looks great, we know that the Project Scorpio is around the corner, will your game be 60 frames per second on those consoles? And first and foremost, they said we're not allowed to talk about Project Scorpio. No one is, not in a developer sense anyway, until E3, but we can confirm that it will not run on 60, and there was a pause from Luke Smith on the Pro. And puts quite simply, and credit to Luke and Mark Norsworthy and the team of Bungie, they said they weren't going to muck around, they weren't going to hold anyone's hopes up, they were going to be really upfront about this type of thing, which I thought was fantastic. IGN actually did a very good job with handling this question in general. And they said that it would not be 60 on the Pro. Now, that said, they touted it being super powerful, capable on many levels, just not within their specific guidelines, within their game engine. The Pro struggled at a processing point within the CPU. Even though they said it was very powerful, I really got the impression that they did their best to try and get it 60 frames within 4K upscaling guidelines, which is tough. It's just, it is what it is. 4K is an impressive benchmark itself, and the Pro couldn't do it. That said, all questions were towards the Scorpio were not going to be answered, but there was some insight there in what they did and didn't say that I think could be looked at further. That said, PC seemingly has their own way with this game. They have unlocked frame rates, they have native 4K if needed. Clearly they'll have 4K assets. The game will be fantastic. It'll be on Battle.net. It will be a true selling point. Destiny is about to evolve, and the feedback from the event is showing, truly pointing towards the PC version being very special. It's almost basically the biggest time, the biggest occasion that I've actually leaned towards maybe upgrading my current PC to start playing Destiny 2, possibly at some extremely high levels. But there's also another console that isn't out yet, and we will find more info about at E3, and that kind of like begs the question of how Destiny are going to react to this new console. They've had the dev kits for a while, there's no denying that. The game is on Windows PC, it is on PlayStation 4, PlayStation Pro, Xbox One, and now Xbox Scorpio. We really get the impression that PlayStation's exclusive marketing and content deal is basically just that. There are still big incentives to play Destiny 2 on those on the Sony consoles. You're going to get the best content. You're going to get a fantastic platform to play. It's going to be great. But with Destiny 2 in particular, there is a need for 60 frames plus, and that's what the PS4, the PC version has shown. And it has shown it in a big way. Apparently that game was running on 1080 Ti's, 7700K Intel processors. Obviously the RAM was maxed. The game was running brilliantly. In fact, some connoisseurs have even said that it was very buttery, like super smooth, more so than 60 frames per second could ever deliver. Now, Bungie specifically did not let anyone take away the PC version content as far as movies or captures. That is not common knowledge, has not been dished out to the public, and I see the reason. The reason is because once you start card capturing those types of performance levels, you can then, knowing what graphics card and CPU lies in the system, you can start doing basic math to work out what is needed to run this thing not only at 4K but 1080p at the medium settings. There is a lot of information that can be revealed from knowing that. So I see why they didn't allow people to capture. It was a good choice, a brave choice, but given that E3 is just around the corner, I think that's also another reason. Now, the Project Scorpio does appear to be able to offer a lot more than the Pro. The stats on paper alone beat it hands down, but Microsoft have also come from the point of view that all their games that have run on the Xbox and Windows PC are DirectX based, and in particular the Project Scorpio is a DirectX 12 driven machine, and what I mean by that is that the command processor that talks between the CPU and the GPU is basically carries those instructions within a DirectX 12 matrix. Not only that, but DirectX in general. And not only is this given the machine some so-called performance advantages, but it's also meaning that any of those games made within those DirectX parameters just works on the system. Like, works, runs, can be translated within days. And not only that, show some serious performance levels. There is definitely something more that Project Scorpio is doing, more so than the base paper stats are showing, and we can see that in the very small info that we have from the Forza Tech demo from Digital Foundry's findings that the machine is doing some fantastic things, especially for a so-called weak GPU. I mean, you just cannot run Forza Apex or the tech demo at 4K native, 4K assets, 60 frames per second, locked, ultra settings with GPU overhead. Even the GTX 1070 was choking out at that point. We know that the memory bandwidth of the Scorpio equals the GTX 1080 Ti. It has the same RAM as that. It is really looking at some serious high numbers. And if they can really trim off performance levels with the so-called DirectX processing, we can definitely see more than usual upgrades from console equivalent hardware, and that's exciting. It's really pointing to the fact that, hey, we know that the 1070, the 1080 can do this, so therefore the Scorpio is going to be in between or thereabouts, within reason, within the DirectX capabilities. And it begs the question, looking back at Destiny, and the fact that the 1080 Ti was on show with Destiny 2, and people were saying, look, this thing is buttery smooth, it's more than 60 at the moment, it was set on medium settings, 4K native. It's all starting, it's just looking like the Scorpio version is gonna run this game at serious performance levels, and so it should. Parity is really an archaic way of looking at gaming. It's kind of sad. Consoles, there is an argument of, hey, it needs to be fair across the board, but we're seeing more upgraded consoles more frequently, and to not make advantage of that for a long-term game, Destiny is going to be out. Destiny 2 is going to be out there for a minimum of 3 years. Minimum. Like, that'll be the bottom end of their scale. They will want this thing out there for probably 5-6 years, something like that, and the PC is going to enable this. So why would you lock in all the consoles at a specific performance level if they could potentially do more? To me, this is the most common sense method, especially if, I mean, we could even be looking at a PS5 at the end of 2018. And what better incentive for Sony players to keep playing Destiny with the knowledge, the fact that the PS5 will come and save them all. Pending a 2018 release, that's exactly what will happen. And all you need to do is look at Destiny 1 to see what transpired with the so-called lower, less capable hardware, and I'm talking about the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Both had Destiny, both had the beta, both games were taken into consideration, and the game was made with those two consoles in consideration. Now we all know what happened to those consoles midway through Destiny's life. They got culled. They weren't economic, they weren't meeting the performance targets, people weren't playing them, they were the people that were sold on Destiny were upgrading to the new systems, whether it be the Xbox One or the mighty PS4 with the content. PS4 Pro jumped in on that. There was great reason to upgrade, there's no denying that. And those consoles basically died right then and then when Destiny stopped supporting them. After that, they were still going strong, but it just more and more started to roll over to the new consoles, and the same will happen with the PS4 and the Xbox One, especially if Sony release in 2018. Now, if the Scorpio is capable at the current date, which the date is 2 weeks away, then you must let this thing run how it's running the game off the bat. Like, you've got to, if this thing has a chance of running 60 at a high resolution level, then let it. What's it going to hurt? The PC already is unlocked frame rates, unlocked resolution. The E3 is going to be swallowed up with all sorts of gaming news. The fact that the Project Scorpio is running Destiny 2 at decent performance levels is only testament to its ingenuity. Like, you cannot hold these consoles back, and if you do, then Bungie face not making the Destiny 2 the best game it can be. That would be a crying shame, because what we've really seen on the, especially the high res, high frame area, looks phenomenal. Like, why would you want to play a game from 2 to 6 years at a lower frame rate or the same frame rate as the old consoles? It doesn't make sense. So in a way, making this thing work, and I really got the impression that they busted ass to try and get the PS4 Pro version. Luke Smith, he said, look, it's super powerful, it's got this going for it, it's got that, but it just, they wanted 4K. That's the thing. There's an argument for they could have maybe dimmed it down to 1080 60, but I don't think Sony would want that. There is, like, what that would be even worse than not being, if your opposition's doing 4K, not only on the S, which is, it actually kind of upscales, like, your TV will say the 4K resolution at the top right of the screen. It's not got the big checkerboarding. It's not running at 800p. It's 1080p at the most, but it does something. But then, not to mention, its 4K capabilities on the Blu-rays is legit. And then now the Scorpio is going to perform at some serious high levels, and you just, as a developer, you're just doing yourself a big injustice. Your game, your brand. You've got to remember that Destiny 2 is on Windows PC. It's on 2 Xbox consoles. PlayStation do not have a say in how this game is going to get represented on those consoles. They've already unlocked everything for the PC. Microsoft are in that equation. It's in Bungie Vision's, Activision Bungie, best interest to get this game running brilliantly on that console, if it can do it. If it can do it, then there's no arguing. Like, that's it. It just does it. We can't stop it. That's, I hope, the stance they take. Parity has to end. Bungie have already seen a parity situation with the PS3 and the Xbox 360. It didn't end well. In fact, there's an argument saying that basically Bungie helped kill those consoles. Personally, being a gamer, a long-term gamer, playing all consoles, and it needed to happen. We wanted the best version of the game, and it couldn't exist with those old consoles. It's as simple as that. So there's no point in penalising really powerful-looking consoles. I mean, custom Jaguar, yes, that's a mobile CPU, but it's highly custom, overclocked the shit. Speaks to a very powerful GPU at 40 compute units, heavily clocked, giving us a gross 6 teraflops for a console is quite astounding. And knowing that they can make that 6 teraflops into probably closer, like 8, 9. It's got 12 gigs of GDDR5. That alone hasn't been tested on DirectX platforms, especially DirectX 12, with what this command processor is going to offer. I mean, you just can't run these particular numbers and get 4K 60 ultra 4K assets with GPU overhead on Forza Tech demo using a shit CPU. You can't. Like, you can have a GTX 1080, but if you've got a fucking real shit old FX, you're not going to hit those performance levels. So whatever this thing is doing, it's doing it really well, and it's possibly got a chance to beat some pretty powerful CPUs given the correct tooling. And the tooling alone, it seems like programming for Project Scorpio is occurring on a phenomenal rate. They got that tech demo running in 2 days. Yes, it was an in-house Microsoft team, but regardless, they were still given base hardware and got it running within a very small set of time. And the reports from third-party developers substantiate these claims. We will see in 2 weeks, like, they are going to talk about how fast they got these systems running extremely efficiently on Project Scorpio at the benchmarks of graphics we just haven't seen as gamers. So I'm excited. China's getting a massive the work that Microsoft are doing in China is very impressive. I believe it's definitely a road to go to. We need gamers on a worldwide level embracing powerful projects, good, well thought of projects. This is definitely one. The Chinese, I think, they can see it. They don't typically have the greatest relations between Japan. Historically, no. America has actually been a bit of, a liberator in China historically. It's not, to say that that's the case now. Definitely not. But they're still at the forefront of technology. They want to share the business. They want to grow gaming. They want the business. They want the money. That's clear. And the Chinese are ready. They want. Hey, they've been playing on PC forever. They're all used to DirectX 12, and if all DirectX 12 games seem to run really good on this console, then why not sell it to them? But that's me. That's Vorpal. The state of gaming is definitely very interesting, but I think it's also accelerating to that next level that we've all anticipated but never received until now. So I'll see you at E3. You've got some of my predictions there. I'm sorry about the length of this video. It is my first video, but I look forward to doing another one and finding out your guys' thoughts as well. So thank you very much for listening.